Welcome to another fun episode of Photoshop Party. I need like introduction music and all kinds of other stuff to make it get official and everything.
Like drums rolling or something.
There you go. Thunder rolls. Today we're going to do kind of a refresher over stuff we've covered over the last year, 2 years. I can't believe that we're entering our 3rd year of Photoshop Party.
Ooh.
That's crazy. I mean,
and we're still here.
We're still here. I know. I started to help everybody waste time during the day during the pandemic, and then it just kept going, and now we just keep wasting time. So anyway.
It's all your charisma.
Yeah. Okay, it's getting deep. Let's go ahead and we'll do desktop and see what happens. It's not showing my bridge or anything, so we'll go to bridge, shrink that down so I can see what I'm doing. And last week I was in a hotel in Jellystone, and
cool.
This is the wallpaper that they had in there. So naturally I had to take my cell phone out and do a cell phone shot. Now I've got a wallpaper texture that I can add. It almost looked like a background. So just a reminder, when you go places, go ahead and shoot, photograph the different textures inside the building, outside the building, and
yeah, don't shoot up the building.
Please, you get in trouble over that. They're not happy. And then a couple of weeks ago, we talked about taking people out of an image. So what I'm going to do is, oops, I don't want to do that. Hang on, cancel. Let's go ahead and got all 3 selected. We'll go to Tools, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. And this is where you need the music. Do, 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 do. 2 layers, 3 layers. And it was mentioned about another technique to do, which I knew about, but I didn't show when we were taking people out of the picture. So we got all these wonderful people running around the Lincoln Memorial, and you can see that each image is slightly off a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is select all, go to edit, auto align layers. And I like auto, it works really well. I don't need to do anything crazy. And you can see, other than the clouds moving, pretty much got a great job of aligning everything. I'm going to convert that all to a smart object. So let's go to, we'll do it the short way. Filter, convert to smart filters. The same as clicking on the right hand side over here and dropping down, going to convert to smart object. And now we have a smart object. We'll go to layer, smart objects, down to stack mode, down one more step, down to median. And we're going to have to give it a couple seconds to say we're going to play. And you get that spinning wheel of death right there. And wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Being ignorant, what is a smart object?
I'll go through that in just a second.
Okay.
And you can see what it's done is taken out a few of the people. It didn't get them all, but it's going to save a whole lot of work for me that way. One minor problem that we have is along the stairs on the left-hand side, the railing has been taken out. So that's one minor glitch with doing it this way. Open it up, open. And you can see all those people that are there are magically gone. So that helps a whole lot there. Okay, Roger, on your question, a smart object is something that's editable. So like, let's say I wanted to crop this down really small. Let's say we'll do a 2 by 2. Oops, I know I put in, yeah. We'll do 2 inches by 2 inches at 300 DPI. Well, let's make it 150 just for fun. So let's go 2 by 2 at 150. We'll make it really tiny. And we'll crop it. And let's get rid of the black at the bottom. Now we'll crop it. I hope it'll crop. There we go. And when I try to make it big again, it's like, oh my God, it's tiny. But if I make it, let's do 10 by 10. It's now full resolution. You can see everything nice and sharp again. So you can make it smaller, bigger, smaller, bigger. You can add filters to it. So if we did, say, let's do a Gaussian blur. And we'll do 100 pixels, which is like stupid ridiculous. You can edit out where you want to get rid of the filter at. So we'll do the, my brain's not working today, guys. I apologize for that. I'm going to add layer mask and I'm going to paint it with a brush. And I'm going to paint black to bring back the filter part. Well, I think that's too much filter. So now I can go and double click on the filter, bring it back to say 1.8 pixels. And you can keep modifying things over and over with the smart filter. And it saves all the information in there so you can redo things. The bad thing about it is it takes up a lot of memory. So if you get this huge file and you keep all the layers, 10, 12 layers on there, and they're all smart layers, you're going to find that it eats up your memory really fast.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And when we do the class at West Coast School, I'll go more in depth with the smart layers, converting to smart objects and stuff like that.
Excellent.
So let's close this guy out. And we're going to do one more really quick.
Michael,
Yes.
can I interject something about the cutting or the auto align?
Sure.
Okay. Several years ago, when I was at the hospital, they were building a medical building next to us. About once a week or so, I'd go up to the roof and I'd photograph the construction process, always keeping one particular spot in line. Got all those images in, dropped them into Photoshop like you did, auto align, and of course the images are all over the place, not really aligned very well, but aligned them. Then I went and just did a crop, and then I exported everything out as individual layers or individual files, dropped that into a video program, and I converted it into a video.
Made like a time lapse out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, way cool. That's a great idea. I shot this freehand when I did that building. And what I did was I focused my center focus dot on the door right here. So I kept it there. Obviously, I wasn't perfectly straight. If you're going to do something like this, it's best to do a tripod so everything stays the same, and wait a minute or two between each shot, do a minimum of like 5 shots, and it's going to help you a whole lot. So what we'll do is, this is at West Coast School, and our class will do this for fun. what I did, half the class will take the picture, half will do the walking, and then we'll flip it around so the other half of the class can shoot while the others do the walking. And it really makes for some fun class. Here I shot 6 images. So what I will do is do the same thing. We'll go up to Tools, Photoshop, to load files into Photoshop layers. So it should line everything up for me. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And select all the layers. This time I'll go to the drop-down menu on the right-hand side, click on it, convert to smart object. Boom. Thank you. So now it's a smart object. So we'll just go to layer, down to smart objects, stack mode, median. You know what, before I do that, let's go ahead and open this back up again. Select all the layers. Go to edit, auto align layers. Even though this is on a tripod, we got to make sure we got it right. Because sometimes somebody will kick your tripod or you'll kick your tripod. Make sure we got it correct. And it was off just a little bit. So we'll save that. And come on. Come on. There you go. Now we'll go to layer, smart objects, and down to stack mode, to median. If you want to add more, I think it's maximum is where you add more, but median takes them out. Is it perfect? No, there's a few things we have to remove, but take a look at that. Where's all the peoples? And we'll show you what we did here. Each one has somebody walking across there. And if they don't move, then you're going to get something in there. So make sure that you shoot on a tripod, make sure that you shoot over an extended period of time. Any questions on that one? Going once?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have questions.
I got an
So-
answer, maybe.
Once you stack them, like you just unstack that smart object, how do you, first of all, how do you unstack it? You right click it or something?
Okay, to unstack, or to, you can see that it's unstacked right there. When I created a smart object, took all of the files that are in that group and made it into one. To edit that one, you double click on the image, the icon right there,
Mhm.
and it opens up that group so that you edit. Let's say I wanted to take my brush, B for brush, and we're going to go with lime green. Oh, we'll just do a bright red. And we'll go. Okay, I'm going to close it. Command W to close. And I have to save this. This whole file saves. And that becomes part of the smart object. So anytime you do a smart object, it gets complicated. We could almost do a full program on smart objects and smart filters, which we might do that in the filter in the future. But you can see it did take a little bit right there. It left a little bit in there of what we did. So
So what if you want to now edit this and get rid of these artifacts that shouldn't be in there?
to get rid of the artifacts, I can just do the layer here, work on that layer, or I can go Shift, Option, Command, or Shift, Alt, Control, E, which is the claw. And, oh, it's not going to do that. I'll just do a command. I'll copy the layer. So we'll just copy the layer.
Command J, would that work?
Command J would include all the smart objects. Let's rasterize this puppy. So we'll drop down to rasterized layer. So it's not a smart object anymore. And what I'm going to do is just go in and let's do a lasso tool here. We'll right click, which brings up another menu. Down at the bottom is content aware fill. And we'll take that guy out because we don't want to use him. And you can see in the display panel right here that it's going to get rid of everything. So we'll click OK. Do the same thing here. We'll do a different technique. I'm going to hit F3, which basically is expand by 3 pixels, go to edit, fill, content aware fill, and then it fills for me, then it deselects. So it's just an action that I wrote. Boom, cannot fill because not enough source pixels. Do it again. F3, it works. Boom. Looks like a chicken there for some reason. I don't know why. Same thing. And then up here on the top, we'll do a little bit different way, just to show you a whole bunch of different ways. We'll do the clone stamp tool. And what I will do is start option click on the line there. And that way the line stays there the whole time. That flower stayed there because it was there. And so you can see that's all you got to do is to take things out. Use whatever technique that you like using. That didn't work. Whether it's the clone stamp, the healing brush, content aware fill, whatever you like to use the best is what you use.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Just
Going
thinking
on.
about where you might have a complex spot to recover from, Michael, where maybe cloning or content aware fill might not work so well.
Uh-huh.
How about looking back at some of the images in your stack where there isn't anything interfering and layering that on and then masking it out?
You could do that as well. There in Photoshop, there's probably, well, I say 10 different ways to do everything, but
Yeah, I'm just thinking there may be situations where, like that fence in the previous one,
uh-huh,
that would be a fairly complex edit, but there's probably one image where
where most of it's there.
is in good shape.
Right.
So just by layering it and masking it, you could easily bring that back perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. Probably the hardest part with Photoshop for me, let me close this puppy out, Command W, don't save. Probably the hardest part for me with, you're killing me, Dwight, is figuring out what technique I'm going to use to make the problem go away. I had one where I had to do 2 different body swaps, changing body from left to right, right to left. And it took me probably half an hour to figure out how to attack it and then 20 minutes to do it. So just, you look at everything in there and go, okay, this is going to be easy to do. I just got to figure out how. And then you call your mentor and say, hello, Mel, I can't figure it out. What do I do? You just, sometimes you have to ask for help and they go, just use whatever. I had somebody who was very good in Photoshop call me one day and said, how do you do a stroke? She just had a brain fart, which everybody does. Okay. Every once in a while, you're just going to go, how do I do that again? You talk to somebody and go, duh. So, okay, moving on. Let's go to back to here again. And you can see my screen again, correct?
Yes.
Good. We've talked about, well, let's do that one later. Let's do this one first. And we have a yellow car.
Make it pink.
make it pink. I was going to make the other car pink, but okay, I'll make this one pink.
You made mine pink.
I did. Probably there's a couple different ways to do this. One would be to select by color. So you go to select color range, and then you click on the yellow and hold the shift key down and click on that yellow. So you start getting all the yellows. Well, that takes a long time to do, but it works. It's effective. Another way to do it is to do a hue and saturation adjustment layer, which puts it on its own layer, which makes it editable after we get it done. You'll see that it starts in master, which is all the colors combined into one, which is okay. But what color do we want to change? We want to change the yellows, right? And what it does, you can see here on the bottom line where the colors are, it gives you a range of colors that it's going to be attacking. You can also click on the pointer finger next to the word yellows right here. Click on that and then click on the car, and that picks out the colors for you as well. And it gives you a range of colors that you're going to do. And then from there, you take your slider in hue.
Oh, nice.
And you make the car pink. The only drawback is once you do that, if you look at the fence, if you look at the plants on the left side and some of the ground around it, what did it do? It turned them all pink. But that's okay. We can fix that in a heartbeat. Click on the layer mask, go to B for brush, make sure you got a black brush. And just paint out what you don't want.
Can you make the wheels green?
What's that?
Can you make the wheels green?
No. The reason why I can't make the wheels green is because they're black. We'll make another layer above that, and we'll try to make the wheels green. So we'll go to our drop down there, hue and saturation adjustment layer. I will pick the wheels. And it's got some blues in it. Oh, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So you can see that because of the black, you can't change the color of the tires. Black and white is extremely hard to do that. You got to change it to a gray before you can do that. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I knew I couldn't do it before. And let's go ahead and make sure we get rid of the color up here, color up there, although it's not bad. It just looks like fall time to there. And then if you wanted the door to stay, we're going to go to a hard edge brush. And I'm not using a pen tool. I'm actually using my mouse. So it's not as accurate as it could be. So we made the door yellow, and you can see what it does. It works with the color, but not with the luminance. So it doesn't just put color over the top of it. So if we do another adjustment layer, hue and saturation, and we pick that yellow, and we decide to go, there we go, contrasting color. And again, you can see that it went after the the bushes again. So what I would do is option click or alt click on the layer mask, drag it into the top one, which should copy it. It says replace mask, yes. And then B for brush, get rid of the door. Now all the bushes that were done before are already done for you. So you can turn the mask on and off. You can see where the mask is. I just scribbled all over it. You can turn it on and off holding the shift key. If you hold the option or alt key, that gives you this. And if you hold the shift key, it turns it off. And if you hold the command key, it shows what was selected and painted in.
That's a lone image, Mikey.
That is a lone image, baby. Excuse me, image excellence. And we'll deselect that. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, now you're really showing off that you did everything with a mouse.
Well,
really
if you
good.
look close, you can see that I missed a few areas there.
Well, you know, using a mouse, that's really tough. I can't even do that.
What you do is just find where the edge is and just kind of paint it in. If you got a straight line, it's really easy because you start here, click, you hold the shift key, click, and it does a straight line. So I'll change the color to white or to black, and we'll click there, hold the shift key, click there, and it draws a straight line for you. You can go straight up and down. You can go at an angle. But the shift key helps keep everything aligned. Any other questions on this? Going once, going twice. Command W, D, don't save, gone. We've talked about this in the past. I like neural filters. Neural filter 1, click on it. Go to Colorize. For those not using Photoshop 2022, oh, you're missing out. Click on Colorize and it goes poof.
Wow.
That's not bad. I don't see any areas that really need additional work except the sky, but that's okay. We'll fix the sky. Click OK.
How does it know he was wearing a blue jacket and brown pants?
Artificial intelligence. I don't know,
Wow.
but it's very accurate. If you take an image, make it black and white, and then drop it into neural filter and do this, it will come fairly close.
Wow.
Well, let's make it a little bit better. We're going to go edit, sky replacement. And I've got a few skies. Let's go with the blue sky. And one more thing, if you have a bunch of skies that are outside of where you want them, like I want the bottom one here, I want it in blue skies, I just drag it up, drop it into blue skies. This one is more of a sunset or stormy. This is stormy, so we'll just drag it up to stormy. This one is, that's going to work for me. I'm going to take it. I don't know where I'm going to put that one yet, but we'll click OK. I'm listening.
Sometimes when I'm doing a sky replacement, it doesn't select all of the sky. How do you go in there and mask it, get it to select
Okay.
everything?
You call Mike and say, can you fix this? And I'll say no. What you see on your sky replacement group, the first layer is sky.
Mhm.
And this shows you the layer mask. So if I hit, you can see where it's masking. And so if there's something there, I just zoom in, and then I would go in and fix whatever needs fixing with the layer mask. So if it didn't select, say, like this pole right here, you can barely see.
Mhm.
I'll take a brush, go really tiny, and I'm going to paint with white to bring it back. So I'm going to hit click there, and I will hold the shift key and click there, and you can see it brought in more of the pole. Same thing there, click and shift, click. And it's not being, I'm doing it really fast. It's not really doing a great job, but that's okay. I'm just doing it really fast. You would go in and finesse it just by using the layer mask to make sure it selected what you wanted.
Okay, and what does the layer below that do?
This one is, let's drag it out. It's foreground lighting. And what it does is kind of mask and blend in with the mask, the foreground with the trees. So you see, without that, around the tree, you can see that it left a whole lot of yuck around it,
Yeah,
and then it blended it in for you. And the foreground color does the coloring based on what you tell it to in the sky replacement tool.
so
But
if you're,
go ahead.
well, if you're altering something in the top layer, you probably need to alter something in the foreground lighting too.
Not necessarily. Well, let's go ahead and paint that in with white. So go B for brush, make sure we're painting with white. Zoom in again, and B for brush. We'll make it smaller just for. And it didn't do really anything with what we just did. But all three of these layers combined make things happen nice and pretty. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Shift, Alt, Control, or Shift, Option, Command, E. We're going to make another layer above it, which basically it flattens the image and then sets it on top. And I am going to go to my crop tool, C for crop. I'm going to clear everything out. I'm going to go from this corner down to this corner. And I missed a little bit at the very bottom. So I'll set my crop in place and just slide that up just ever so slightly. Okay, now that we've got this cropped, let's go ahead and add a little bit of a vignette, not a nasty one, but just a little one. So we'll go to the Camera Raw tool, which is Filter, Camera Raw Filter, or you can hit Shift Command A or Shift Control A, and it will bring up the filter for you. And then what I'm going to do is go to what we were talking about last week, the masking tool. Click on the little circle there, which is the masking tool. Go to Radial Gradient. And I'm going to drag out a little bit of a gradient there. And instead of lowering him, I'm going to, or raising him, I'm going to lower the outside. So I'm going to click on Invert. You can hit X if you want to. And you can see I've got a super duper 62 pixel filter. I'm going to take it down to like 50. Okay, 47 it is. Let's bring it down just a little bit. And then bring my exposure down just a hair. Let's say half a stop. Click OK. And it doesn't really look like a whole lot, but just enough to where you got a little bit of a vignette going on around them. You can do that again if you wanted to. Go to filter, camera raw filter, which is the first one up, and it automatically redoes it. Oh wait, that's a little strong. So let's go to edit, fade camera raw filter. We'll take it to, let's make it 50%. And now you can see that there's a bit of a vignette there. Well, now that we have this nice pretty picture, we have to enter it in print comp, so we got to do something with it. So let's go to, I'm going to flatten it first. Image flattened. Let's go to image size. I'm going to make it 4,000 pixels because that's what you need for print comp, right? And I'm going to show you a mistake I made. We're at 4,000 pixels. Let's go ahead and go to image, canvas size, and I'm going to add, let's do 4 inches on each side. So with 4, 4, and we're going to make this a museum crop. So we're going to make it white, or a museum matte. Click OK. Now we have this. But before I do, let's make a copy of this layer, Command J, do the same thing over again. Go to image, canvas size, 4 and 4. And you notice the color is still the same. I don't have to change it again. Click OK. Now you've got that picture and this and the frame around it. So I want to just add a stroke to it. So let's go ahead and instead of putting a stroke on this layer, I'm going to Command J to make another copy. Double click in the blue area right here of that layer. I'm going to add a stroke, which is there. What color stroke you guys want? You want the green or the blue or the orange in the clouds?
Blue.
Blue? Blue it is. So let's go with this gray blue right here. Click OK. And I'm going to make it a 6 pixel stroke just so you can see it really well. But wait, there's more. I'm going to make this layer bigger so that the stroke is going to be outside of the layer. So I'm going to go Command T or Control T to free transform. Up on the top bar, I have my measurements up here and I have width 100%. Well, let's make that 102%. And I have the lock on, so the height is going to be 102%. Cool. Enter, go, thank you. So now there's a stroke on there, which you can't really see very well, but we're going to fix that. If you drop the opacity down, this is not the way to do it, by the way. If you drop the opacity down, you can see what it does. It gets rid of everything in that layer. If you drop the fill down to 0, that makes the stroke appear, but the picture is gone. So let's make the stroke a little bit bigger. We're at 6, let's make it 10 just for fun. And no, I wouldn't do it that thick on an image this size. And you can see on the sides, it's a little bit skinnier than the top and the bottom. So we'll go Command T again to free transform, get rid of the lock, and the width we'll do it 101, just kind of eyeballing it. And I think it's pretty dang close that way. So here you could add your outside stroke, and you'll notice that the stroke is editable all the time. So let's take it down to 8. Well, the judges don't like that color. Fine. Go to stroke. Dang judges anyway, right? Right. Grab some grass. Oh, perfect color. That's a 100. But wait. It's still pretty gnarly. filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Adjust Noise AI. We're going to take some of the noise out and it will sharpen a little bit as well. Probably too much. Let's drop the sharpness back a little bit. And that's not fixing the noise on his face. That's a little better. And it takes about 20 seconds to render it. So you have to be patient. And one thing I didn't know about AI noise and sharpen. Sharpen is an annual subscription, so you do have to renew every year. I didn't know that till recently. But I renewed it anyway because I like this tool. And come on, you can do it. This is when I go surfing on the internet while I'm waiting for it to work, especially on big files. Come on. There we go. And it took just a little bit of noise out. If it does too much, you can always go to edit, fade, and then adjust accordingly. We'll take it to say 60%. Click OK.
Is that a plugin for Photoshop?
That is through Topaz, and yeah, it's a plug-in filter. So it's in your filter palette down at the bottom. You got Topaz Denoise AI and Topaz Sharpen AI. Both of them are miracle workers. I'm totally happy with that.
I just got the Gigapixel AI
Uh-huh.
and it installed separate from Photoshop. I don't know if I can make it as a plugin or not. Have you used it?
I have not used it, but if you go into your filters, it might be down there with the Topaz filters.
Yeah,
No, that's the one that they don't allow or don't put in as a.
Okay, so you have to do it separately.
and it's slow. I've only used
Well-
it. I only started using it. I only used it like one time. And it was slow.
One of the problems is you're taking all these pixels, rearranging them and trying to keep an image sharp while you make it bigger. Photoshop works pretty good at ramping up things now. They've been working on that and doing a good job with it. So that is.
You
that.
got to go to 4,000 on an image for image comp though, and you got a 2,400 wide image that you're starting with. Gigapixel really works well.
Yeah. And you notice I made my image 4,000 pixels. Well, if you look at the image size, I'm glad you brought that up. If you go to image size now, it's now 5,200 or 6,700 because of the added inches to the side. I don't want to admit that I made a mistake when I entered my images into print comp, but somebody did that recently and got a phone call saying you need to re-enter your images because they're too big. No, I did it 4,000. Well, when I added the matting on there, it added inches. So just a reminder. Any questions?
Well,
In fact, let's do this. We're going to take this. We're going to go to image mode grayscale. Discard everything. And now it's a grayscale image. That way there's no cheating. I can't outsmart Photoshop. Mode, back to RGB color, because you cannot run neural filters on RGB color or on grayscale mode. Filter, neural filters, colorize. And that's pretty dang close. So not bad.
That's just downright freaky.
How do it know? And I was working on this image today just for fun. My wife way back when. Do neural filters. And we'll do colorize. And she said, well, my dress had a little bit more green in it. Okay. So we'll go to her dress, click on it. We'll do a dark green there. Yeah, a little bit. It's green. We'll do the background on the right-hand side. I want to make it match everything else. And you cannot click in here to get a color, although there's a way around that down the road. But let's go ahead and undo that, cancel. I don't want that dot in there because it turned to green. So I'll click on the next to the color bar right there, click remove. Change the color to this gray blue right there. So we'll go to more gray, click OK. Now we'll click on that area right there and voila. Click OK.
Now her dress is blue.
Because that didn't work right. I did something wrong. Anyway, it also did her hair up there. So you got to be careful of that. So if you put it on its own layer, put a layer mask on, and then can't do a layer mask because it's going to go to black and white. Although that's kind of brownish, that almost works. Huh. Okay. Who knows? But yeah, you'd have to go in and make sure that that didn't turn blue. And I'm glad you caught that because I didn't at first. And then go through the process with Denoise and do that again. Command W, don't save.
Just tell her she remembered the dress wrong. It really was kind of.
You want me to tell my wife she was wrong?
I
Really?
like getting you in trouble.
I know you do. Ain't happening.
Triple dog dare you.
Can I be there for that?
Oh, my wife is always right.
It'll score better with the blue than the green.
You must be obeyed.
Anyway, anybody have any questions?
Oh, just a comment because of that color restore. I think in the artist category, in restoration, we have to really relook the rules and guidelines because the software is doing, the artificial intelligence is doing all the rendering and not really the artist by manually doing it. So I think that's going to be a discussion coming up. Because,
That's a hard one to catch too.
yeah,
I mean, how do you say you used AI versus doing it yourself?
right, and as judges, we really cannot say or imply anything. We're just looking at the work because some people are really good. I mean, some artists are really
Yes, they
skilled
are.
into it. Right, they're really good at doing this. But I did see some images in restoration coming as they were coming up this year, and you could see some of that AI technique. It is very good, but there are a few things you can catch. I say, oh, okay, there's a little mistake here, but
Right.
it is really good.
Hutch, you had something to say?
No, I just couldn't hear.
Okay.
And I think it's something that I wanted to, that was of interest at least. I don't know if maybe everybody else could hear. Maybe I just need to turn my volume up.
You want to say it one more time, Dwight?
I'm sorry. No, it's because it is software is just so smart. It really takes away the skill of some of the artist entries or restoration process now, because we had to go through the whole process of losing like the levels, hue and saturation. But this AI technology is just so smart. It does a really, really good job.
It seems like you should be able to use whatever technology is available, right? Why not use AI to make a shortcut and then go
right.
in there and touch it up?
Well, when you're doing print comp, the artist restoration is supposed to be the artist doing the work. if you're using all the shortcuts like AI and neural filters and all that, then you're kind of letting the machine do the work for you. And it's kind of, in a way, cheating.
Mhm.
But some of us are not,
That's,
some of us are not very good artists and need that help.
that's what they say about Photoshop in general, right? That we're cheating. So.
Well, some of it,
No,
yeah.
no. Photoshop is not cheating now. Remember when we had film,
The tool.
and it's a tool because
It's a
when
tool.
we were paper and negative retouchers, we had to use dyes, acrylics, bleach at times, and
Yeah.
even airbrushing, and that was a wet process of retouching. But now
So why
software is
is-
dry.
So why isn't AI considered a tool? It's
Well,
It is.
it is a tool, but
Mhm.
like the skies, when you do a sky
Right.
replacement,
Mhm,
you have to show the different skies that you put in there if they're not yours.
mhm.
And some people basically are saying that's my sky. Well, it's in 15 different images going through print comp.
Uh-huh.
So, Photoshop includes quite a few skies.
Mhm.
I've taken all their skies out and put mine in
Right.
so that
I-
I'm
I
not
would, yeah.
not going to slip up and make that mistake.
Well, just keep in mind the sample that Mike showed today was really good because your main subject, the quality of light or direction of light hitting on your main subject, that's how the lighting should be. So your background should have the consistency of the quality of light and direction as your main subject, or anyway, everything has to be consistent, because when we're looking at it, if I see a cloud or the background where the sun is coming from a different direction, it is really obvious that the wrong background was put in because of the quality and direction of light.
Yeah. And some judges have an eye for that.
This
And
is a
some-
question where I've kind of wondered where the line is drawn between, for example, a lot of the topaz filters and what have you, which maybe aren't AI particularly, but they're overlaying textures and what have you that are not of the maker's own.
Well, I think in my opinion, and I think we've been trained or guided on this one here, I'm looking at the end product. If you use all these techniques and layers and textures applied, long as it's done correctly and not overdone and it looks believable, we'll score it accordingly because it's very impressive. But if it's overdone, just because you have a tool and you use it too often, it gets to the point it's like, wait a minute, you just destroyed the whole image by overdoing it. So it's every image is looked at individually.
And I think the hardest thing is replacing skies when you got trees with a lot of, like, behind Jeannie right now, she's got a lot of trees with all the spacing between the leaves and the branches. Even some of the AI will miss that.
Mhm.
And you go, wait a minute, the sky is nice dark blue here, but in the trees it's white.
Mhm.
It's like, you missed that one.
Mhm.
So it's a challenge and
Mhm.
things you got to look at.
Well, you take the technology with the AI technology, and if there's a little error, go in there and then manually correct it, and then it'll be really impressive if you can recognize some of the problems and you correct it, and that would impress. It would impress me when I'm doing my scoring. I see it. I said, okay, that was done well. It's very believable. I don't see any artwork done, so to me that is a true. It looks very believable. Once you can see artwork being performed, it's like, okay, you have to look at things back and forth.
And when you're using Nik filters, especially the Nik black and white filter, the Silver Effects Pro, watch out for a lot of ghosting around the edges of trees and mountains and heads. Nik is good, but it does ghost a lot. So be careful with that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, let me kick off.